Okay.
Okay.
Just to remind before starting the session, for the new participants, your microphone should be mute, and you can use the chat for question or for feedback. I copied in the chat a link with the rest of the program, so you can see the rest of the program for the last two sessions. And this session, as you know, will be chaired by Hiro Nakaya. So Hiro is here. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's make the best use of this time, 1 hour. So please share the presentation, and I'll offer Dr. Chun to speak up.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I can't hear. Yeah. Maybe the signal. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Sharing the documents, slides. Yanon, can you share the documents of Dr. Chung from administrator side, or would you allow Dr. Chung to share?
Sorry, there's no sound. No. The signal is not steady.
We can see the screen shared, right?
Can I share the screen?
Yeah, we are already seeing your screen.
Oh, okay. Can you see it?
We can see now we see the web browser.
You can see it. Can I start the presentation now?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Okay. Here it comes.
We see indeed we see the presentation view of your presentation. So
yeah, you see the presentation material. Okay.
Yeah, but we see it in the view in the presentation mode. No, in the not full screen, but the way you see it in the background.
Is it full screen? Not full screen? Oh,
no.
Okay. Let me try it.
Don't worry. A bit of patience.
Is it okay?
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, let me start. Maybe technical problem. Hi, everybody. Well, I'm going to share with you the experience of a LandAware warning system in Hong Kong over 40 years. I try to keep it short. Some background information. You know, Hong Kong is a small place. We have only about 1,000 kilometers square. However, we have a steep natural hillside covering over 60% of land area. And there's many high building. So we have also a number of so-called dynamic slopes. We have more than 60,000 so-called registered dynamic slopes in Hong Kong. And about the weather, we have a subtropical climate, raining season normally from April to October. So we are vulnerable to monsoon trough as well as the tropical cyclones. So some photos showing the past landslide in Hong Kong, mainly before this century, last century, ranging from 60s, 70s to 80s. You can see number of fatality over this main landslide last century. However, this century we also have some major landslide. From some example, 2005, 2008, as well as 2 years ago. And so landslide is a major natural problem, natural hazard in Hong Kong. Some statistics from 2006 to last year, you can see the annual rainfall, the fluctuation of the annual rainfall, and the average about 2,400 millimeter. And this is also the number of reported landslide. You can see the bar chart, the red bar chart showing the major, so-called major landslide. Although the volume is not very high compared with other countries, we define a major landslide with a volume more than 50 cubic meters because the site setting, the Hong Kong setting, all the buildings are very close to hillside. So even though the volume is not so high compared with other countries, but the consequence is very high. So you can see the fluctuation of the major, so-called major landslide over the years. Normally, we receive around 200 to 300 reported landslide per year. And this graph shows you the landslide fatality over the years from 1948 to last year. So this year, 1977, is the establishment of our office at Geotechnical Engineering Office. We have substantially decreased the landslide risk over the effort over the years. In particular, the landslide warning system is one of the key components of the safety system, so-called. And when we focus on our landslide warning system, it is established when our office set up. That is 1977. I think probably it is the world first territorial-wide landslide warning system. And we have two main objectives. The first one is to alert the public to reduce their exposure to possible danger from landslide. Second, once the landslide warning is issued, we will trigger our emergency system. That is, we have to mobilize the government departments and the resources to deal with the landslide incident. So basically, we can divide our landslide warning system development or evolution into 4 stages. You can see from 1.0 to now is 4.0. Basically, the difference among this system or the evolution system is first the prediction model. That is, we use a different rainfall parameter, different technology to upgrade our prediction model. And second is about the action. What action we have to take once the landslide warning is issued. And third is about the public engagement. So we are focused on, we engage a lot of resources on the public education. So we can see one by one. The first stage or first version of landslide warning is from the year of the setup of our office, 1977 to 1983. Basically, the model, I think the key is a prediction model, is established by researcher Professor Peter Lum in 1975. He made use of the rain gauge data from the Hong Kong Observatory, which have more than 100 years rainfall record. And he collect landside data ranging from 1950 to 1973. So basically from the urban areas of Hong Kong and Kowloon, not the whole Hong Kong, but only from Hong Kong Island and Kowloon Peninsula, which is the urban area, developed area, because it affects the public most. And he find the daily rainfall as well as the previous 15 days rainfall, well, correlate very well with the occurrence of landslide. So he divided the landslide into 4 categories. That is a disasters, severe the landslide category in the four categories: disasters, severe, minor, and isolated. So you can see from this chart, 15 days period rainfall and the 1 day rainfall. There is the occurrence of landslide. So you can see a plot here. So he divided into 4 regions: disaster, severe, minor, and isolated. So based on this, we developed our landslide warning system. That is the prediction model. Apart from LUM, we also carry out our internal study. So we define a major event is 10 landslide per day. So we also use a 1 day rainfall as well as the 15-day antecedent rainfall to do our threshold the criteria. But at that time, the landslide warning is only for internal use. We divide into 2 zones. That is the amber zone and red zone. Amber zone is which means our red rainstorm warning is likely to be issued within 3 days based on the rainfall forecast, and red warning is a rainfall threshold already reached. And at that time, we base on about 20 automatic rain gauges, which means about 1 rain gauge per 50 kilometers square. And at that time, we still use a telephone line. We have a 15 minute interval data. But for that particular so-called landslide warning, it is not actually a territory-wide warning. We only aim for the residents of so-called the squatter dwelling. So you can see from this picture, a lot of flimsy squatter dwelling on hillside. So this area we call the vulnerable area. So the development of a landslide warning is particular for that purpose, particular for that population. And you can see the modified criteria is here. There's a curve, the red line, as well as the yellow line. We divide into 2 zones. That zone, once the 15 days rainfall, as well as the 1 day rainfall reach that zone, then we will issue the red landslide warning for internal use. And between, there's an amber zone. So it alert our internal staff. And I would like to highlight some thing in the first version. We have a sub-catalog because we have to know the scale of problem. So we have a registration, the mechanism. We have a sub-catalog. At that time, we have about 10,000 mimic slope in Hong Kong. And also we have a landslide database because we would like to have the improvement later. So we would like to have an improvement and prediction model. That's why this is the 2 key tools for us for continuous improvement, so-called. And then for the 1 day rainfall, because we have to do our forecast apart from the 15 days antecedent rainfall, we need the input from the Hong Kong Observatory. That's why we need a 4-hour forecast, because at that time the technology, okay, so almost a cutting edge technology. They can provide us with a 4-hour forecast. That's why we can have a forecast number of landslide for the warning system. And the bilinear relationship, I will talk something about this. We modified the criteria in 1980. So this is the modified criteria. Apart, we are not going to use the curve anymore. Based on experience gained from the early warning, we divide the zone into 2 zones, a bilinear relationship. We still have a amber warning as well as a red warning. And we'll highlight the 10 red warning were issued in 1982 and 1983. So what are we going to do when we issue red landslip warning? When landslip warning enforced announcement at that time, we think we have to transparent to the general public. So in late, the first version, later year of the version, we issue the warning through the media. So we will alert the general public that more they were bringing increased danger of landslide because of the heavy rainfall. And we will mobilize other government departments to open our temporary shelter, mainly for the benefit of the vulnerable area. That is the swimsy squatter dwellings. And police would go to the vulnerable area to advise the occupant, high risk there. So encourage them to make use of the temporary shelter. Okay, after that, come to the second phase, which is from 1984 to 1998. Dr. Brand and his team improved the prediction model. At that time, he used, he upgraded his data set, enriched his data set. He used 20 years landslide and rainfall record ranging from 1963 to 1982. And he still think, daily rainfall is important, but the team considered 15 days antecedent rainfall is not a very significant parameter to trigger landslide. That's why he ignored this parameter, and he find 24 hours is a very crucial parameter to the occurrence of landslide, and also the maximum hourly rainfall is very important. So he adopt when the 24 hours rainfall is greater than 175 millimeter, or the maximum hourly rainfall is greater than 70 millimeter, then it's a very important. It will trigger the occurrence of major landslide. That is more than 10 landslide per day. You can find more detail in this publication. So there's some graph showing the correlation. And here you can see the 24-hour rainfall from the Hong Kong Observatory, as well as the number of rainstorm events. So when you can see when the 24-hour rainfall is greater than 175 millimeter, it triggers, mostly the major landslide. That is the 10 landslide per day. So, he defined this as one of the criteria. Second is about the hourly rainfall. And you can see this is the average daily number of landslide and casualties against the maximum hourly rainfall. You can see when the hourly rainfall is reach 70 millimeter, it will trigger a number of average landslide as well as casualty. So based on this, we can redefine the threshold. That is the rolling 24-hour rainfall greater than 175 millimeter at the principal rain gauge, that is the Hong Kong Observatory rain gauge, or at 10 or more rain gauge in the network, because we have a number of rain gauge over the territory, or if the 1 hour rainfall of any selected rain gauge located in the densely populated areas greater than 70 millimeter, then it will trigger our landslip warning. At that time, the rain gauge network was expanded from 20, remember 20, to 46, and then to 48 in 1988. And at that time, the slope catalog, I've mentioned before, we have a registration system. The slope catalog has been expanded from 10,000 to 60,000. So almost we register all the endemic slope in Hong Kong. And also we try to, well, at that time it's trial. We try to whether we can issue localized landslip warning system at a particular area, such as so-called the northern part of the territory, new territory. But because the rain band is moving very fast, and Hong Kong is a small places, so the rain gauge or the rainstorm prediction or the prediction model is not quite reliable at that time, we think. And some point I would like to draw, the environmental setting was a substantial change. Because at that time, after the second phase development, we go into third stage. At that time, we spend a lot of public money to upgrade or to stabilize the government endemic slope. So the performance is very good. And also we have a policy. We encourage the so-called squatter dwelling. We would like to clear the vulnerable squatter dwelling. So the most vulnerable area in the past may not be present in the current time. And we also have a high quality of rainfall and landslide data available from the previous, starting from 1982 to 1986. So Poon, one of our previous head, and his team studied the spatial and temporal correlation between rainfall and landslide in the vulnerable area. So this time, the vulnerable area we define not only the squatter dwelling area, but the areas which have a lot of landslide. And we also find 24 hours rainfall will remain the most promising parameter to the occurrence of a landslide. But 1 hour rainfall in that time we find is not a very critical parameter. So to make it simple, we adopt a 24-hour rainfall is one of the, or is the only key parameter to be considered. And the number of a predicted number of landslide, we remain to use 24 hours. That is the past 21 hour plus the forecast. Because forecast 3 hours, we have a confidence from the Hong Kong Observatory is very reliable. And then we times the so-called landslide density and times the vulnerable area. So for each rainstorm, we can have a predicted number of landslide on this vulnerable area. So again, you can refer to this publication for more details and show you the concept. This slide shows you the number of landslide, the spatial distribution of landslide from 1982 to 1989. And this shows you the vulnerable area, which is almost the urban or developed area, affect the population much. And we can make the correlation because we have a rolling 24-hour rainfall for each rainstorm, and we find that landslide density. So we can do the correlation analysis. And some characteristic for the third phase or 3.0 landslip warning. The rainfall threshold value is based on the rolling 24-hour intensity. that is 21 past rainfall plus forecast 3 hours. And we put based on our prediction model, if the total number of landslide is greater than 10, then we may consider to issue landslide warning. The physical meaning of 10 is different from, although it's also 10, but it's different from the previous two phases, 1.0 and 2.0, because we find that from the past experience, for every 10 incident, we have on average one major landslide. There is a volume greater than 50. So the physical meanings behind for every 10, we have one. That's why 10 is the threshold value. But the threshold value was also changed because, as I mentioned before, we have put a lot of public money to our system, that is to upgrade the magnetic slope. So in 2010, we upgrade the system. We define the major events from 10 to 15 because our population of slopes perform well. Starting from 2000, and we define it's 15. And I would like to highlight timely communication between our office GEO as well as Hong Kong Observatory is important because we have a consultation level and alert level. It is for internal communication because rainfall, we rely on our counterpart, that is Hong Kong Observatory. So before issue landslide warning, we have a consultation level, alert level between our two parties. And as I mentioned before, we have accelerated our retrofitting program. So starting from 1995, some sense about the public money. We spent about 1 billion Hong Kong dollar. That is 130 million US dollar per year to upgrade the slope. And we have carried out the quantitative risk assessment to see how our slope population, that is more than 60,000 slopes, how they perform. We find that the landslide risk, the total landslide risk has been reduced by 50% since 1977. So, and also we differentiate the slope type into 4 types: soil slope, rock cut, fill, and retaining wall, because they have their own prediction model. That is, they have their own characteristic, the correlation between landslide and the rainfall. And also the prediction model, we have to develop our model, and we need to upgrade them from time to time to reflect the reality. And also we find this very high false alarm in the previous warning system. That's why we upgrade to this version 4.0. And some highlight here, and Yu, also one of our colleagues, he upgraded the model. He used update landslide data from 1996 to 2002. And in this time, we not only focus on vulnerable area, we focus on the whole territory. So we divide Hong Kong into 1,600 grid cells. So for each cell, the size is 1.5 kilometer times 1.2 kilometer. So we have a spatial distribution of rainfall, landslide, as well as we know for each map cell or grid cell, we know the number of slope, number of cut slope, rock slope, fill slope, retaining wall, all the things we know. And then based on this, we can do our correlation. So we find 24-hour rainfall still remain a promising parameter in the model. And here's the concept. We divide the territory into 1,600 grid cells. So we know the distribution of the magnetic slope in Hong Kong. And we have a network of rain gauge. So you can see both the rain gauge organized, managed by our office as well as the Hong Kong Observatory all over the territory, 110 automatic rain gauge. At that time, we got data for every 5 minutes. And for each rainstorm, we can have a 24-hour maximum rainfall contour. So you can see example here. So for each rainstorm, we can have a contour of maximum 24-hour. And for each rainstorm, we know the distribution of a landslide. That is a minor landslide, major landslide. So we can pick up from each map cell number of landslide, number of minor and maximum major landslide. So we can calculate the correlation or the correlation among the 4 types of slope. That is a soil cut slope, rock slope, fill slope, and retaining wall. We can build up the correlation model from the data. And how it operates when we got a new rainstorm. Of course, we have 21-hour past rainstorm for our rain gauge. And then we rely on our Hong Kong Observatory. They give us the forecast 3 hours. So we can have a contour of 24-hour maximum rolling. And then based on this, also the number of slope in each cell. And also based on this correlation, 4 types of slope, we can sum up the number of landslide, the predicted number of landslide for each map cell. If the sum of the total is greater than 50, then we will consider whether we should issue the landslide warning. Of course, apart from the calculation, we have to oversee the reality, because we may receive a number of reported landslide from the public. So we have to benchmark the prediction and the reality. And now the landslide prediction, we have a cloud platform to help us to do the calculation. So we can have an instant, almost instant calculation for every 5 minutes. Once the network of rainstorm, they update for every 5-minute interval, then we have a new calculation. And based on the data, we can consider whether we should issue the landslide warning. And all the data we can receive from our desktop computer and also from a mobile device. So we can manage our system at home, 24 hours at home. So it is the same algorithm, real-time rainfall data, and forecast from observatory, basically from radar, do the correlation and predict the number of landslide. And then we have to see whether we receive any reported landslide. And based on this, we have to communicate, between 2 parties, our office as well as Hong Kong Observatory, whether we should issue landslide warning. So we have a 3 level, as mentioned before: consultation, alert level. This is an internal communication. And then finally, we will decide whether we should issue landslide warning. And once we should issue the landslide warning, we have many media means, mobile application, and TV, radio, website. And I think the point is important to alert the general public. Some tips, we have some advice to the public. For example, stay at home and shelter, keep away from slope, and watch out any sign from the landslide warning, move to a safe shelter, etc. And also, of course, we have to mobilize our emergency team. We have a 24-hour, round-the-clock emergency team to have a central control. And also, we have to mobilize other government department rescue team, such as the fire service, police, Sometimes we have to evacuate building and do the emergency engine works. And here show you the performance or the number of landslip warning we issue from 1983 up to last year. More or less you can see it fluctuate. But well, on average, I think around 3 to 4 in recent year. So once we issue, we will alert every relevant government departments, and also we do the performance each year. We find that around 90% of fatal landslide incident that involve a casualty occurs when the landslip warning were in force. So it gives us some sense of confidence about our landslip warning, the performance. So public education important. I think during the dry season, we do a lot of publication, education through TV, radio, forecast, school talk, exhibition, social media. We try to educate our public how to do, what to do when the landslip warning is issued, is important. And now they show you the network of rain gauge up to, well, this year we have more rain gauge. We now have 122 rain gauge over Hong Kong, and we have around 1 rain gauge per 10 kilometers square. Remember, in the first stage or the first version 1.0, we have 1 rain gauge per 50 kilometers square. Now we have increased 5 times to 1 per 10 kilometers square. And for each rain gauge, I think this basic setting, the power is important. So we have solar power. And more important, we have a cloud platform. So because the data is very, very huge. Now we have a 1 minute interval. So for 1 minute interval, for average rain gauge, we have 1 data. So you can see how many data per day, or is 130,000 data per day. So we need a very reliable platform. So that's why we engage cloud platform right now. And forecast, of course, our counterpart Hong Kong Observatory also upgrade their forecast because forecast is important. So they use this system. I hope they can have, well, apart from 3 hours, maybe 4 hours, 6 hours, more reliable forecast. So information, rainfall record, landslide report is important. That's why we have to upgrade or update our landslide prediction model once we have new data. And power is important, transmission is important. Now we are trying to engage LoRa because apart from mobile network, I think under severe weather condition, maybe LoRa is more reliable. So in parallel, we try to develop this system. And of course, the landslide prediction model is important. In the past, we rely on statistical analysis, but we would like to see whether artificial intelligence and machine learning can help us, because apart from rainfall, other parameters may be important. For example, geology, vegetation, and altitude, topography, etc. I think it's a very, very complicated correlation. So we would like to see whether AI can have a more reliable correlation. And also forecast I mentioned before. And finally, I would like to share with us our new advancement, which is called the Common Operational Picture. Because as a government, apart from a landslide, we have other hazards such as flooding, road, etc. So we would like to have a common operational picture to share information amongst all government departments in order to have a more prominent, more prompt action. Some example here, I hope you can see. For land side, for example, we can see instant distribution of land side over the territory, and we can see, you can see the picture here, video, and apart from on the desktop, we can make use of mobile device because it is a GIS digital platform. We can make use the availability of data very convenient from everywhere. And once we have something we need to know, for example, whether we can call up the weather information immediately, such as satellite radar information. And for a particular land site, we can click on a particular land site, we can see instant photo and every detailed information, such as the scale of stop, location, whether the action party have taken action, whether evacuation is needed, etc. So I think it's very important to have a very instant platform to share information amongst government departments. Well, I think this is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chung.
I hope you can see it clearly.
And a very solid achievement in Hong Kong. We just applaud. And maybe many people may bombard you with questions, but given the time frame of 1 hour, and I need to leave a time for Mr. Sakai to present the Japan Meteorological Agencies to present his case. So why not punch into the chat for the questions to Dr. Chen, so that after these sessions, maybe we can send him and question and answers after the sessions, maybe. So let's shift and change the screen and transfer it to the chair to Mr. Sakai. Will you change the screen, Picolaro?
Am I need to do something on the screen?
Yeah, stop sharing Dr. Chun's and then to Mr. Sakai's. Thank you, Mr. Sakai. Please do speak up by changing it to the slideshow. Maybe we will overrun the time frame, but that's okay. I think we are the last session. Is microphone okay?
カメラもオンにします。
OK。カメラオンにして。いいかな ?OK。Thank you, Dr. Nakaya. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you very clearly.
Thank you.
We are long time friends, so thank you.
Good morning and good afternoon or good evening. I am Yoshitoshi Sakai, the director of the Weather Disaster Mitigation Division, the Japan Meteorological Agency. And I'm now wearing a mask because there are a few staffs here. But if I took off this, okay, maybe you can see the 51 years old man's face. Today, I'd like to make a presentation on risk-based landslide warning system in Japan. Now, next slide. Okay, Japan is exposed to a wide variety of natural disasters due to its geographical characteristics. Even in recent years, when weather warnings and information, as well as infrastructure, have become more sophisticated, disasters causing serious damage often occur in Japan, and it is suggested that there is a possibility that heavy rainfall in the mid-latitude region will be more frequent and intensified due to global warming. That is why expectations and needs of the public to disaster management authorities are high. And we, the Japan Meteorological Agency, JMA, strive for appropriate operation and improvement of weather warnings and information. Next. Before talking about landslide disasters, I'd like to briefly introduce the system of weather warnings and information in Japan. First, JMA issues weather advisories and warnings and emergency warnings in stages as the risk of disasters increases, in order to mitigate disasters caused by heavy rains and storms. Emergency warnings are issued. Emergency warnings are issued once every few decades when a very severe phenomenon is expected. And warnings and advisories are issued on a municipal basis for smoother disaster responses and actions, because municipalities are responsible for insurance or instructing residents to take evacuation actions in Japan. Next. The warning criteria. This slide shows the criteria for warnings advisories. And warning criteria are not uniform throughout the country in Japan, but are set for each municipality, because there are large regional differences, especially in how it rains. In addition, we use indices or index for heavy rain warning criteria as an indicator in good correspondence with landslide, inundation, and flood occurrences instead of rainfall amounts. As for landslides, we use soil water index. We call soil water index, and which takes the water amount accumulated in the soil into consideration, adding to the rainfall amount in target areas. I will talk more on this soil water index later. And this table shows what information will be issued according to expected disaster levels by municipalities. This is a national design called alert level, established mainly by the Japan Cabinet Office. And on the left side of the table here, that shows that actions to be taken by residents following the information from municipalities. And warnings and advisories by JMA and others are clearly stated on the right side here. And with levels corresponding to the alert levels. As a result, warnings or information by JMA and responses of municipalities and actions to be taken by residents are linked to each other, and it is expected to lead to the immediate evacuation. Now let's focus on landslide disasters. As for landslides, heavy rain advisory heavy rain warning, landslide alert information, and heavy rain emergency warning are prepared corresponding to alert levels from number 2 to number 5, respectively. And after the probability information for heavy rain warning is issued, heavy rain advisory, heavy rain warning for landslide, and then landslide alert information will follow. And then emergency heavy rain warning for landslide will be issued when extreme landslide disasters are likely to occur. And heavy rain warnings for landslide and advisories are issued when it is expected to exceed the criteria within 2 to 6 hours. And landslide alert information, which is the standard for issuance of evacuation orders from municipalities, will be issued when it is expected to exceed the criteria within 2 hours, considering the time for evacuation and information delivery. Okay. And this slide shows the qualitative information assurance. And landslide alert information is jointly issued by prefectures and local meteorological offices in Japan. And in this information, cities, towns, or villages with potential of landslides are clearly described. In Japanese, described. And criteria are examined and set in collaboration with prefectures and local meteorological offices based on the investigation of the relationship between landslides and rainfall in past disasters. So by collaboration between prefectures and respectively of the landslide countermeasures and local meteorological offices with knowledge on rainfall forecast, more appropriate disaster management is expected. And this figure shows how to set criteria for landslide alert information. At first, we evaluate the risk of landslide disasters based on rainfall amounts in a short time, that is to say 60 minutes precipitation amount here on the vertical axis. And soil water index, we call soil water index horizontal axis. So, and which is the amount of water accumulating in the soil after a long period of rainfall. And here the brown line in the figure, in this figure, is called the snake line. We call this brown line as snake line, which connects the ever-changing 60-minute precipitation amount and the soil water index at regular intervals. When the line exceeds the reference line, yellow, orange, purple, these reference line for landslide alert information. The purple line shows. It indicates that the risk of landslide disasters is very high. So the yellow, red, purple, and black lines indicates the criteria for an advisory, and the warning, and the landslide alert information, the purple line, and the emergency warning, respectively. So these are set based on the relationship between past disasters and snake lines in advance. Once the criteria are set, prefectures can grasp the latest hazard potential by monitoring this figure. The next slide. And this figure shows how to calculate index of rainfall related hazard potential. And, heavy rain cause not only landslides, but also inundation and floods. So this figure shows 3 hazards together. And when it rains, rainwater flows on the ground surface and flows into rivers, and or infiltrates into the ground. This white arrows shows. And to calculate the amount of rainwater accumulated in the soil, we use a simple tank model consisting of 3 levels. Tank model here and 3 levels. And at first, when it rains, water gathers in the surface tank. And some of which flows out of the side holes into the surrounding soil. This arrow shows. And some of which infiltrates into the middle tank here. And in the same way, the part of the water in the middle tank flows out of the side hole here, and also infiltrates into the depth tank. The same occurs in the depth tank, and the total amount of water remain in each tank is considered as the rainwater accumulated in the soil. In this manner, the soil water index is calculated. And for your reference, if rainwater flows down or surface and pools at some areas or gathers in rivers and flows down, the potential of inundation and flood will increase. And this picture shows the distribution map of criteria for heavy rain emergency warning for landslide in Japan. And as you can see, large regional differences exist throughout Japan. For example, the value of soil water index is small in Hiroshima prefecture here. You can see Hiroshima prefecture. Here is very small value, while the value of index is large in other regions with high rainfall, such as Kochi prefecture here. And in this way, you can see that criteria are set minutely according to the regional characteristics. The next slide. And let me show a case in which landslide occurrence was properly predicted based on the soil water index. And this is the case during the heavy rain event in July 2018. In this event caused heavy rain over a wide area, and the characteristic was that the area with record-breaking precipitation for 2 to 3 days was spread widely from Western Japan to the Tokai region in Japan. And from this figure, we can see that a warning was issued based before the landslide occurrence. Okay, and this before, and thus warning and information assurances for landslides based on the soil water index have been very effective in Japan. And in addition, we also provide specially specific information on risk level in colors using standardized color levels, in which the index at each location is translated into a risk level according to vulnerabilities there. We can this information we call this information the real-time risk map. And it has 1 kilometer spatial resolution, and it is updated every 10 minutes. The aim of this risk map is to promote pinpoint and effective evacuation by using this map as a supplemental information in combination with warnings. Okay. In the next slide, I'd like to show you how we use warnings and the real-time risk map in combination. And as shown in this slide, it is expected that municipalities and residents who have received the sense of risk through warnings will be aware of the specific areas at risk on the map. The next slide, I will show you the technical improvement. And JMA is constantly working on improving information and forecast techniques. Currently, we provide warnings and risk maps based on forecasts up to several hours ahead. But we are working on technical development to provide risk maps at an earlier stage with longer lead time around 1 day, using rainfall forecast up to 1 day ahead. So of course, the longer the forecast time is, the higher the uncertainty becomes. So we are also under discussion on how to show the maps as well as the effectiveness of using ensemble forecasts. And in next slide, we have enhanced various weather warnings and information so far. But unfortunately, it is not easy for officers in municipalities to make the best use of them by themselves. So because they are not experts in meteorology in Japan. So therefore, JMA also dispatches local meteorological offices staffs to municipalities in emergency situations. These staffs support their disaster management activities by providing detailed explanations. And in addition to supporting municipalities, we also introduce the notification service to residents related to the rising risk level as one of the efforts on information delivery. We have started a pool information service in cooperation with private companies, so that people can be aware of the change in risk level immediately. And now the warnings and the information I introduced today are available 11 languages on JMA website. This multilingual website has been established with an aim that more people can access the information, as the number of foreign visiting or living in Japan has increased rapidly in recent years. And of course, you can also access from your countries to our JMA website. So please take a look. So this is the end of the brief information on our activities and efforts related to mainly to land-side disasters. For your attention. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sakai and Director Sakai. Thank you for the compact and concise presentation of JMA's efforts over 2 decades or 3 decades. Now, we may have several questions, and please punch in the chat, but already we have passed 5 minutes over the framework of session 22. So we may have to transfer to the next chair in a minute, but let's have a time to write something, or you may have many questions to Dr. Chung from Hong Kong as well. So please raise your hand. And if the time doesn't allow us, we may keep in touch over email or over the several sessions in the coming 2 hours. So maybe after the photo contest by Miguel. So please raise your hand and upload, give a hands to both the splendid presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Thank you, Hiro, for chairing this session. I think we can move now to the last 2 sessions. I'm right, Michele?
Yes. Yes. If you unshare the screen now, and maybe you can even stop the recording and maybe begin a new one for the next session, so you have 2 different files. Okay, I'm sharing the screen again.